Dr. Gigi Sabat, and you're listening to the Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Craig. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Such an honor to have you here today. Now, you are an entrepreneur. Can you tell us a little bit more about you and where are you from, Craig?
Wow. So go way back. Grew up in the Northeast. Then I moved across the country to Colorado for college, then moved out to Southern California after that. So kind of my story starts with growing up in a working class family in the East Coast, grew up in a very affluent area, almost like two sides of the street. We were like a little bit south of that street. You had to be on the other side on to really be more affluent, where the country clubs were. You always hear the major hedge funds guys live out there, and they do in that part of the Northeast. And growing up, I had a good upbringing. My parents both worked hard, but they didn't get certain things in life. And I always, at an early age, hey, I want to dedicate my life to building wealth. And that's what got me on the path where I am today. And by a lot of hard work and grit and grind, I put myself in position to be successful. Started getting some mentors at an early age, exposing some of the wealth building techniques to me that you can't read in a book or read at school. And they opened that door, the crack in the door, and I kind of slammed that door open, leaned into it, and I started developing the skills to be successful to where I am today.
Wow. Absolutely amazing, Craig. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, you are redefining how everyday Americans build wealth. Tell us more.
Yeah, so along my journey, I served a lot of wealthy people, and out of the Jobs Act, there's some regulatory changes that were made, and I saw an opportunity to offer this to anyone, regardless of your socioeconomic background, and I just kind of dove into that. I didn't know how much would be challenging at that point in time. It was quite a ride. Started with the idea in 14, took a few years for legislation to actually get enacted. Usually they pass stuff and it takes pass in 12. I think it wasn't until like late 16 that really got enacted to the general public. And that means one thing. The next thing is like the attorneys are involved with that process, of course, and that took an extra year. So really, we didn't get activated until late 2018, 2019, our platform to allow everyone to invest through it. And by certain circumstances, and this is a good entrepreneurial story, is during the downturn, we started out with like 2,000 clients, and towards the end of the pandemic, I had close to 30,000 customers who transacted on the platform. Today, our community is close to 1 million people. So it was quite a wild ride to go from that and some of the decisions we had to make in that process to get where we are today.
Incredible. Wow. And so my next question to you, Craig, is let's talk about entrepreneurs and going into 2025. What are entrepreneurs doing? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what are you doing today? I am on your podcast today, and I'm in the office working. What are you doing? Are you preparing for next year? It's going to be a wild ride, right? You've got new administration coming in. A lot of people are thinking a lot of deregulation, some liquidity in the markets. There's still issues at hand. We know stock market's it's pretty high. A lot of AI is out there. A lot of technology is increasing. So there's a lot being thrown at us at the end of the day. And it's a different market. I just think it's a different market. And with a different market, you got to figure out what works in this market. An economist, Howard Marks, says the definition of insanity is if you thought what happened in the last market cycle is going to work in this market cycle, you're insane. You got to do things differently to get that result. So what do we have to do in this market to get a result? You talk to half the people, you can get two different answers. Someone's going to be right, someone's going to be wrong, right? And someone's going to take credit for it in 5 years. That's how the case is. But we don't know. So we got to kind of try to, I just say, be open-minded to what's happening and see where the opportunities are, because there's always opportunities with changes.
Very true. Now, Craig, what if an individual is afraid going into 2025 and they want to close their business? They're at the point now where they want to just close their business after so many years.
That's a tough thing. So, I mean, close the business or sell the business. It's selling the business. You gotta want to be careful until the market comes back, really rebounds, because there's a lot of opportunists out there who will buy you at a discount. So I'd be careful. You always want to sell in a position of influence, of leverage. So it has to be doing well and have some underlying, something there that someone wants to buy. So it'd be a tough thing to do. In some cases, you got to fold them and go on to your next venture. That's okay too, and take the lessons learned. Maybe they're minimal damage, and you want to do something else. I think that's the life as entrepreneurship, is moving on to the next thing. And how do you re-energize? How do you recreate yourself? I think an entrepreneur is always recreating themselves and always going with the flow. So it might be something just, hey, it's time to let go. Let me take on this next endeavor. Or maybe you learn something from that enterprise, and now you can take that knowledge onto your next one.
That's very true. Craig, let's talk a little bit more about some of the challenges that you face. Can you tell us a little bit more in regards to life in general?
Oh, challenges in life started for me at an early age. I think it really came, and I think I'm really an extension of, I come from a strong mother. And I had this image of myself just kind of falling down by a tree in our front yard. I was like, what is this image? And then I looked down at my legs and I'm like, what is wrong with my legs? And it turns out that I couldn't walk as a kid. So I had to learn how to walk with leg braces. So I think my first challenge was ingrained in me at 3 years old, learn how to walk straight. And so then again, that appeared in life later on in life. Got kind of, one of us in school got picked on because something was wrong with them, was me. My spine was curved. And so again, I had to face another adversity of like, okay, my mom was like, okay, I don't want my son to be considered deformed. So she started to tell me to start lifting weights to get into exercise to straighten my spine out. And so that's how I got into athletics at an early age. So the adversity to me really started with my childhood before it got into business and really primed the pump and set that foundation. And I think that really set the foundation of when I went out and wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was kind of subconsciously building that mental muscle of being tough and coming through adversity.
Wow, incredible. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Now, Craig, what is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
That's a couple questions right there.
It is, isn't it?
I mean, whenever you could do something that is like your dream and you're giving a benefit to society. So serving people at the end of the day, I think that's the best. Is like, hey, how can I create a business and serve people at the same time? I think that's a secret sauce. And sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. It took me a while to figure it out until I created this last company, Diversity Fund, where I could do something that I was kind of built to do and really give back and serve people. And then with everything else is, I think, values. You got to kind of look at your values at the end of the day and don't compromise your values. It's a very tough thing to do, especially in business, because you got to keep the doors open. You might have to kind of do business with people you not necessarily have the same values of you, and you have to navigate those waters until you get yourself in position where you can do business with the people who have the same values as you. When you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of choices, right? You have a limited amount of choices. And so I always say, hey, you got to build relationships. It's part of building a business that align with your values and with your interest. And so that's something you have to proactively do. And if you can, you'll get there a little faster. But sometimes it's just difficult for us to do this, come out of the gates doing the business. We got to do what's right in front of us. But that's something that you should definitely kind of lean into and develop that skill set of building relationships with the people that are aligned with your values.
Very true. Now, earlier, circling back to what we talked about earlier in regards to fitness, and we also spoke about business. Now, what if an individual wants to do both, but they're not aware of how to balance the two? What advice do you have for that individual, Craig?
Do a fitness business or fitness or business? Which
Fitness
one?
and business. They want to do both.
But, well, for me, it's like I found a gym 6 blocks from my office, so that's easy. So I could go at lunch. So it's the practicality around it. Or yeah, I lived once where like I go outside my door and kind of mountain bike when I lived in the Rocky Mountains. So I think incorporating it into your lifestyle, you always hear like habit stacking, and you stack things together where maybe it's like, okay, lunch, I go to the gym instead, I fit that in the right part, or early in the morning, how could I put it in my day-to-day flow and balance both? A lot of it depends if you drive. If you drive an hour to work, that's kind of it takes away a lot of your time. So how can you be closer? Maybe you have a work from home job. So it's kind of looking at your situation and how you can incorporate it in and the choices you make too. So there's a lot of, for me, I don't drink, so I kind of have a different social crowd. So it's more of a fitness crowd I'm around. I'm blessed. I work out a place where there's like a lot of Navy SEALs, and I happen to still be in pretty good shape. I get to work out with them at my age, so I feel phenomenal when they let me. I feel like they let me, but they allow me. I'm fit enough where they allow me. So that's fun and special, and I have fun with it. So I think if you're having fun with things, it's easier to incorporate too. It's not this like hassle. It's like you form, it's not a habit as much as it's fun. It's part of your life. It's you're making friendships, and you're looking forward to that each day. So I think that's kind of more, again, the secret sauce is how do you fit it into your day to day, the travel times, find places close to you, whether that's close to your house, close to your office. maybe skip the lunch and go there, maybe skip the happy hour, go to the gym, and do it in a manner where you're making friends and have some type of building some relationships with some people that are like you.
I love it. Very powerful, and have fun. I agree 100% in regards to the fitness component as well. Now, Craig, do you have any last words for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, as far as being an entrepreneur, I think the hardest thing is like get out of your own head. So it's not a normal thing to do. Most of the people that you know, like your friends and family, maybe your cohorts, your associates, are maybe against you, not giving you the best advice. And my advice to you is, hey, you got to listen to yourself. You got to lean into it. It's difficult. You got to lean into the uncomfortable, but you do have the ability to do anything you stick your mind to. So just watch out for the naysayers. Believe in yourself, because the only person who really has to believe in you is you. And if you believe in yourself, you accomplish great things.
I love it. Believe in yourself and get out of your own head. Very powerful, Craig. And thank you so much for being a guest on the Walk With Me podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me.
God bless.